Here, behold, the Soul Blazer Randomizer, ready to roll. I'll be hosting jumping in hero donations here and there, but we have our commentary team and we have our racers as well. So I'll turn it over to them to get the job rolling. Good luck, and or blame never hate.
Are we all ready? We've got our three runners. Do the three of you want to introduce yourselves?
Sure, I'm the Axe Man.
I'm Dented Razor.
I'm Munty.
Yes, I'm actually Lost Core.
Incredible. As you all probably notice here, all of our runners have their names already put in, and great names, not confusing at all. Definitely will not cause any shenanigans for sure.
And thank you so much to everyone who donated for these names.
Absolutely. Okay, well, I think we've got, we have the countdown going? I think we're at 0, so we might just do a 3, 2, 1 if that's good with everyone.
I can do that. Alright, here we go. 10. Now we're on to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And they have started.
Okay,
Good luck, everybody.
Okay, so Soul Blazer is a game from 1992, really early on in the SNES library, part of the Quintet trilogy, so to speak, along with Illusion of Gaia and Terranigma. We can see that the three runners are already going from the that initial area down into the first dungeon. You can see that in the first area, there's kind of an alternation of swinging swords along with just holding your sword out in front of you. One of the things with that they're going to be working on is kind of the difference between when you hold the sword out in front of you, the enemies will get hit on the very initial frame. But if you're attacking right at the end of the swing, sometimes it will hit the enemy twice. So, and we can see here that even on the very first one of these enemy nodes, we've already unlocked one of the important NPC unlocks. So each one of these groups of enemies that come out of these little nodes, when you defeat all the enemies that come out of a set of nodes, you will unlock something, either an area like these treasure chests, or a NPC back in the town section. With this being a randomizer, though, the runners have no idea what NPCs are going to come out, and there's a number of very important NPCs that come out of these areas.
Yeah, and well, some NPCs will directly impact progression. Some of them are a little more subtle. They'll open up a path that allows you to get to other important NPCs. The Old Woman, for example, lets you get to the village chief and progress to Act 2. So you probably won't see much of the Old Woman because she disappears as soon as you unlock the village chief, but very important check all the same.
Yeah, exactly. Like even this mushroom that was just unlocked, that mushroom itself isn't important. The runners are never going to talk to that mushroom, but that mushroom is important because that is that area of a cave, which is all the way in the fourth area, is needed to talk to Gnome the Snail, which is required to talk to. So Rose is absolutely right in that there's a lot of checks that are needed for this game. So even though it's randomized, you have no idea what order things are going to come in. There's a lot of things that you need to unlock.
Yeah. There are 6 progression NPCs that are normally unlocked by beating the final boss of an area. They allow you to go to the next act. In addition, they'll need to find 6 magic stones to gain access to Act 7, the final act. They'll need to find 2 dancing grandmas, a king of the dancing grandmas, and 3 red hot items, and a couple special pieces of armor and of magic.
Yeah, and swords too. There's 4 swords that are usually needed. 1 for plot progression reasons, and 2 for 2 to defeat certain kinds of enemies. There's 2 swords: the Zantetsu sword that you need to fight metal enemies, and the Spirit sword that you need to use to fight ghosts. And then the last pieces of equipment, the Soul Blade, the Soul Armor, and the Phoenix, are also all needed to fight the final boss. So lots of necessary items, lots of necessary NPC checks, and the runners kind of have to just store that all, figure out what they need, what they want to go for, and what areas are the most likely to have them. Now, in the beginning here, there's not quite as many choices, right? Because they haven't unlocked as many areas, but often as you go through the game, more and more things will get unlocked, and then we'll see that the runners will continue to diverge.
And you will see that the players here are death warping back to the beginning. That is intentional. Rather than have to run back through the area, they just throw themselves into enemies and get sent back to the beginning to open up further checks and really expand the world.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple of death warps that are basically everybody does, and this one at the beginning is definitely one of them. The only consequence for dying is that you lose your gems. You can circumvent that by using the strange bottle.
They did actually find the magic bell, though, on the first treasure chest, which allows them to use magic with no gem cost. So
perfect.
It's a great item to have. You have 1 weapon, armor, a magic slot, and then an item slot. You can only have 1 equipped at a time, so there are times where you might have to switch between multiple ones. Like, the power bracelet will double your offense, but the magic bell lets you cast magic for free. So. Or the medicinal herb, which will bring you back if you die.
Yeah, the infamous medical herbs. Because all of the treasure chests are randomized in addition to these monster layers, anything can come out of any chest. We missed it. There was everybody went into Hype Cave, which is a check that has 2 treasure chests and another item check in it, and in that had a bunch of good stuff, including they did get the Spirit Sword, so they do have a strong sword already, as well as the Greenwood Leaf.
They also got a blue stone from the Crystal Fairy.
Yeah,
which is one of the progression or go mode items.
They need 6 stones to get to that Act 7, just like you said.
And you will notice that they're not swinging their swords anymore. The Spirit Sword has a level requirement of 19, or at least most of the runners are. So until the characters reach level 19, the only thing they can do is hold it in front of them and just kind of gently prod enemies, which will do about half the damage?
I'm not sure how the damage calculation works.
It does a lot less damage, but it's still a much stronger sword, so...
Yeah. It at this early stage, it it's less relevant. Being stuck holding the sword out in front of you really only impacts kind of later. I found it usually Act 4 is when you start really feeling the fact that you can't swing. Oh, we found out that the soul armor is being kept by a squirrel. So we're gonna need some delicious seeds to go and trade for the best armor in the game. Very important.
Yep. Yes, one of the final items needed.
Yeah. I don't know how that squirrel got it, but
Clearly
That's
doesn't know how important it is if he's demanding seeds for it.
I think that's a very fair trade for a squirrel. I think that
That's
squirrel's
fair.
got the right mind of it. But yeah, another item that I saw got caught was the greenwood leaf. That's a item that's necessary to go and open up kind of the second half of this act. Everybody's in Act 2. And Act 2 can be really, really challenging because often it gets accessed super early. Like we can see that we're only 9 minutes in, and often you're opening up Act 2 at a very low level, and so being able to go and navigate and not die a bunch. But the fact that they have that spirit sword, which is one of the stronger swords, definitely helping out.
Yeah, and Lost Core just found the mystic armor, which, when it gets equipped, should really help survive these statues that teleport around.
I mean, I don't know. Lost Core's a pro. We'll see when he equips it. If he hasn't already. Might not be worried about these statues. I don't know, Rose, for me, I don't know which is worse between these statues and these shrubs that like to shoot their arms out at you and they're invincible while they do it.
Oh,
They're both awful.
yeah. Dented Razor's dealing with a lot of lag and shrubs. It really depends on the area, I think. Like, if there's a lot of open ground, I find that the shrubs tend to be more annoying, but if there's, like, all kinds of distant areas for the statues to teleport to that you just can't reach, they tend to be a lot more annoying in that regard.
That's fair. Yeah, they're both very challenging in kind of different ways. And both definitely the players showing their skills. I know when I first started running this, I think I spent just an hour dying in Act 2 to all of the shrubs and statues.
Oh yeah, we had a weekly seed recently, and I remember it took me 15 minutes to even get into the water temple, the area that they're all in now, because it was just statues. And we came there right after, it was the second place we went to, so like level 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Oh. And you may notice that the layers that the monster comes from, they have 2 options for spawning monsters. They could either spawn them one at a time, or just rapidly until the spawner runs out of enemies. I believe there's 2 to 6 enemies, like min-maximum, for single spawn at a time, and 5 to 16, is it, for all at once?
That sounds right. Yeah, it can be a lot, and it's definitely more than what normally happens in the vanilla aspect of the game.
Yeah.
Especially with the types of enemies, a lot of these more challenging enemies like these shrubs and these statues. In the vanilla game, you don't ever really fight a huge number of them all at once. Another thing that they're struggling, that they have to deal with is the fact that they don't have any magic yet. Magic
They just picked up Flame Ball.
Oh, did they pick up Flame Ball?
Yeah.
Okay. That really, like, that's one of the things that can really help with the shrubs.
Yeah.
If you can, because they're invincible when they throw their arm out at you, but if you're far enough away and you can use something like the Flame Ball, that can be really helpful.
Yeah, Flame Ball is the first magic spell. Very simple, but very effective at what it does. Just throws a nice single rate. But magic is focused not on the character, but on the little glowing orb, the soul of the magician who floats around you, which is an interesting way of doing things.
Yeah, and they'll definitely take advantage of that. There's an issue where normally it's just going to float around you in a circle, like you can see with all of the runners. But you can manipulate that by walking up against stationary objects, and so you will see it at various points. The runners kind of walk against walls, and you'll see that blue ball not rotate around the character, but instead go way out to the side, and they can use that to have the magic go and hit things that it otherwise couldn't.
Yeah. Also, if they decide to go and finish up Act 2 at this point in time, you'll see them running around in the dark, and in which point the mage, the little soul flying around you, is very helpful because you can tell when you've hit a wall in the dark because it starts to leave that circle around you. So.
That's true.
Yeah.
It looks like everybody got the bubble armor. That is a required, one of the required armors for Act 3, which is a water level, to actually walk around underwater. Act 3 is kind of funny because just the way that the logic often works in the randomizer is that you end up kind of just skipping over most or all of Act 3 and going straight from Act 2 to Act 4. We'll see what happens with this one. Because they already got the Woods Guardian, so they can go from Act 2 to Act 3 whenever they want, but there's a lot of really good checks in Act 2, so they'll often choose to stay in and at least finish up a portion of it. Whether they decide to go all the way to the end might vary based on their preference.
Yeah, in order to get to the underwater areas in Act 3, it requires both a soul check. There's a mermaid who opens up the part of the map that goes to the underwater section that the bubble armor is mentioned, because otherwise you'll just keep taking ticks of damage from drowning.
Yeah. Which sometimes you can skip. One of them is pretty easy to skip because you don't have to walk very far. But
oh, there's a dancing grandma there.
There is a dancing grandma. One dancing grandma down, one to go. There'll be a lot of. There's also some other checks to get to where they are too. You have a grandpa, a boy, and then you kind of have two different routes to get to the boy.
Yeah, either coming from above with another grandpa or to the side with another boy, actually.
Yep.
This game didn't have exactly complex names for a lot of the characters. It was 92.
Yeah, well, and I mean, and I love that the whole conceit of this, right, is that you're saving the souls of living creatures, and that's great when you're saving things like boys and grandpas, you know, and even in Act 1 you're saving things like tulips, or in Act 2 you're saving animals, but it breaks down a little bit more when you go to Act 5 and you're saving stairs and doors.
Oh yeah, Dr. Leo's laboratory is absolutely bizarre.
You're like, oh, okay, I'm saving potted plants, mice, okay, I get that, and doors? I'm not quite sure. Not quite sure I get that.
Soul of doors, the soul of dressers.
No. So it also looks like they're opening up. They've opened up to go back to Act 1 and go and do part of Act 1, including Lisa, who is a very it's kind of like the romantic interest in this game, but amusingly enough, in the randomizer, she's often just skipped entirely. You don't talk to her. You don't go. You know, you just ignore her entirely.
A little bit of a spoiler, but if they get to the Dr. Leo check, he will kind of sacrifice himself to save the day, do a heroic sacrifice, and he's Lisa's father. And usually what that resolves is, like, you'll just get the item from Dr. Leo and then just walk out past Lisa crying.
Oh yeah, you don't. Yeah, there's several times where Lisa wants to talk to you. We don't have time for that. This is a speed run.
No. So, despite the fact that you are literally the man of her dreams, you show up in her dreams
No.
to unlock some stuff. Yeah, you just don't have time.
So I want to point out, so here on Lost Core's side, a big way in which runners will save time is by putting their screen such that while they're defeating one monster lair, they're allowing monsters to come out of another layer. He was up above the first layer up so that a second layer was still generating monsters. And that's often the way that you'll have those time optimizations. Often when doing a race, there's kind of two different ways in which you can save time. One of them is skill and one of them is luck. Did you just defeat the monster layers faster, or did you get lucky in where you decided to check and where you decided to skip?
You'll also notice a lot of damage boosting across the red hot floors. They need a piece of armor called the ice armor to walk across them safely, but you don't necessarily find that in time when you're playing the randomizers.
Yeah, and that's slow. Waiting for the red hot to actually cool off before walking, that's too slow. We gotta go fast.
Yeah, and you'll also see those little scorpions that they're avoiding those are metal monsters and require. Oh, there's the queen. Another act progression NPC. But the metal monsters require the Zantetsu sword or the soul blade to be able to damage, so they have to save those for later if they're gonna get them.
Yeah, and it's a little obnoxious here in the Fire Shrine because all of those enemies throughout that entire screen, all of those little metal scorpions are all for one check, and coming back and killing all of them just to get that one check takes quite a bit of time, and so that's often something where different runners will prioritize differently on when they decide to go back and check for those sorts of things versus checking other things first.
Yes, and in addition, there's the raft that requires the greenwood leaf.
Yeah, that raft, speaking of sentient objects, that raft is like, whoa, 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 you can't ride this raft unless you tell me that you're legit, and I need the greenwood leaf, which the runners got quite a while ago to go here. So it looks like at least Lost Core is going and finishing up Act 2. The other benefit of that is, in the same way that Fire Shrine had those metal scorpions that need the Zantetsu sword, the Light Shrine, which is the last area, has these weird glowing creatures that can be defeated with the Spirit Sword, which the players do have. And because the Spirit Sword is not meant to be gotten until quite late in the game, those enemies give quite a lot of experience points, and so you'll see how Lost Core right now going into the Light Shrine is at level 7. You're gonna see that is not going to remain the case as he exits those rooms.
And just a heads up that the flashing bits in the Light Shrine could be a bit of a photosensitive issue. I believe this is pretty much the only point in the game that really has such a concern, though. So.
I want to thank the 2 raids we just had. Sinistream came by, and as did Zealous Speedruns too. Thank you all for coming on and keeping us in mind. Welcome once again to the Randothon for NAMI, the National Alliance of Mental Illness. I hope you enjoy the show. If you want to give donations and see the schedule, we're coming up in the chat here and there. And feel free to spread the word and give us a hand if you want to. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And do you have anything else?
At the moment, let's see. Nothing new in a while yet, so. Nope, still holding strong at 2370. We're close to our next threshold of 2500, which will alter our commentary of tomorrow's free enterprise race, as well as openings tomorrow for the Zelda choices to choose your sprites for Wind Waker and for Link's Awakening.
Awesome.
Very good.
Yeah, it looks like everybody's deciding to finish clearing this out, do the light shrine. Makes sense that even though the light shrine doesn't have a lot of checks, that extra experience with having the spirit sword is really handy. And the fact that they have that spirit sword means that they don't need to backtrack here later. They can just get it all done now. But yeah, we will see pretty shortly. We'll see Lost Core going in the dark. There's a couple of things that require kind of some extra knowledge. This is definitely going to be one of them because there is
we got the purple stone on the spirit check, so that was
helpful.
Very good.
Yeah. That Soul of the Magician that's in that blue object, there's technically other NPCs that you can add to it. One of them would allow you to actually see in these areas, but again, that's too slow. And also, sometimes you don't get them. So,
yeah.
You just learn how to do it anyway.
When it comes to leveling up, the players are going to need to reach level 24, because in order to beat the final boss, the Phoenix magic is used by swinging your sword, and you have to use the Soul Blade for it. And that requires level 24, so they're going to need 420,000 experience, which is quite a bit. The levels really go up in experience requirements in this game.
Yeah, they definitely do. And even before that, it's usually pretty helpful to be able to swing the Zantetsu sword or the Spirit sword when you're in the areas where those enemies are pretty persistent.
Absolutely.
And so often you would like, if at all possible, to be level 16 going into those areas in the 5th act and the Spirit sword in the 6th one.
Yeah, there's some very mobile metal enemies in Act 5, and it's a real pain. You can lose a lot of time if you can't swing that sword.
Yeah. Now, luckily,
When I
because
say
that
very mobile, they can run around the entire map very quickly.
We see Lost Cores, and probably the other runners are going to do this too, are going ahead and beating the Act 2 boss. Mostly just because it's there. One of the funny things with it being a randomizer is just, the check that you get for beating a boss is just the same as any other check, and it's just as likely to be good or just as likely to not be important at all. And because of that, there are some bosses, especially some later act bosses, that are commonly skipped until the end just because they're so slow. They take a really long time to beat.
You will also notice the runners coming back and getting a couple of checks as they go. Monsters will, unless you completely clear a layer, monsters will respawn if you either leave the room or if you hit a soul check, because it kind of warps you to that area on the map. So, in order to try and finish off, in particular the big spirit checks, they have to skip all the other soul checks along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good call out. And that's another thing. That's another implementation thing, is often figuring out how to clear multiple checks and doing that before you actually click into a soul check. Because it will do that for the soul checks, but it will not for the ones that just clear shortcuts or open treasure chests. And so knowing which ones are going to clear, which ones are soul checks and which ones aren't, let you know which ones I need to make sure to clear everything else out versus which ones it's okay to. So we can see Lost Scores in Area 3, and in typical fashion, we've already unlocked the Queen, which is the way to get to Act 4. So probably not going to
Yep.
spend a ton of time, but he is going to South Erda, which is the first island.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Go for it.
I was just going to say that South Thirda is only accessible by talking to the queen, or if she's not there, there will be a mermaid statue. And you have to go back to the sanctuary and teleport to it. It's why Act 3 is often commonly just skipped over, because you have access to South Thirda, but not necessarily the underwater portions.
Yeah. And different, so far, the NPCs that unlock the next area have been pretty easy to get to. The first one just requires 2 checks, the mayor and his wife, whose house it is. The second one only requires 1 check, which is the Wood's Guardian, and the third one requires the Queen. All of these have been acquired. To get from the 4th act to the 5th act, though, requires a lot of NPC checks.
Yeah.
Because all of those NPCs clear out the room in this cave area, and so it's not uncommon to get to area 4 pretty quickly and get all of those checks, but then for it to take quite a while longer before you can move on to the next one.
Yes, additionally, you also need to access the king, who, while a required check with the Grit Dancing Grandmas, also unlocks access to the snail gnome, who gives you access to Act 5. Oh, sorry, just a little trouble with words, but yeah, because otherwise you can have access to the prison where gnome is, but it will still be locked.
Unless you have the Lucky Blade.
Oh, really? Does the Lucky Blade allow you to?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
I didn't
anyway.
realize that.
That's been my experience anyway. I could totally be wrong by that, and I'm sure the runners know better than me. But yeah, occasionally that you'll have the whole way there, but it will still be locked.
You will also see some of the runners being given emblem items. Those are another multi-item check. There are 8 emblems scattered throughout the world, and all of those together unlock just 1 check, which you really don't want to see anything important on for that reason. It unlocks a check in Act 2 once you have access to a deer and a crocodile, to headbutt a tree and get you access to a fairy.
Yeah, it's and unfortunately, because that item is random, just like anything else, it can often be quite anticlimactic as you've gone through all of these item checks and all of these NPC checks, just to find out that, oh great, if I get all of the emblems, I can get a medical herb. Fantastic.
Yeah, or a strange bottle, the other just all over the place item. But it seems that Dented Razor has found the delicious seeds.
Oh my goodness.
And it's now in Lisa's.
Ah.
Yeah, the delicious seeds were in the boys' club, just hanging out on the ledge.
Incredible. It looks like Lost Core has done another Death Warp in South Erda. That's one of the ones I don't see that one as often.
Yeah. Not too far to backtrack there.
Yeah, it was probably just I saw he was kind of damage tanking. I think he was just already have low enough health. That was just like, hey, I can just save a little tiny bit of time.
And now he's made it to the Mountain of Souls, the 4th area, whereas Dented Razor has gone back to Act 1.
Yeah, so we've got a pretty big divergence. Yeah, it looks like Dented Razor decided to go all the way back, do that Lisa unlocked, so he actually talked to Lisa in her dreams and is going back, getting things done in World 1.
Yeah, Lisa will unlock both an item and soul check just to the south of where Dented Razor is at the moment. So that little path at the bottom that's open is all thanks to going inside Lisa's very actual dream with the Dream Rod. having her father tell you that you need to help him, and then you just run away and leave.
Yeah. Yeah, in the classic fashion of us ignoring Lisa, we'll leave the dream and then she'll be like, "Get out of here," and then we leave and then she's like, "No, wait, stop and talk to me." No, that takes too
Yeah,
long.
we don't have time to
don't-
come back.
We don't have time for that.
We've got some mermaid statues being unlocked in Act 3. Those are required to access the underwater area, which you can see the Axeman currently in.
Yeah,
Um,
looks like X-Man's going back to finish South Erda.
Yep.
There's this one treasure chest that's there, and this is the one where even if you don't have the bubble armor, it's not too bad to just tank the damage and go there without the
Yeah.
bubble armor anyway.
Yeah, you come out there fresh. You don't really have to deal with any enemies. You've got plenty of time.
Yeah. You can technically, if you just don't get the bubble armor for forever, if you're really high level and you have a lot of hit points, you can tank to go to some other places. I've tanked to go to Rockbird before, which was interesting.
The recovery sword will help with that as well, because every time you defeat an enemy with it, you'll heal a little bit of HP.
Yeah, very true.
Although I don't believe those things are in logic to do that, so...
No, they're not in logic, but
Yeah.
so they're technically a sequence break.
Yeah. So they're not required for people who are starting out.
No, and probably wouldn't suggest it.
Snowball there.
Yeah, Act 4 has these snowballs, and they're also randomized. They'll chase after you, and you can't beat them with your sword. You have to have them follow you until they break against one of these rocks.
Yeah, you have to wait for them to reach full size and then direct them into a rock.
Yeah, that's...
Unless you have the Soul Blade. The Soul Blade is actually able to defeat them, and they'll give a whopping 2,000 experience. But...
Oh my gosh, I have not even tried to do that, but that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, along with the spears in the Water Temple will give you 3,000 experience.
Yeah, and the spears in Act 6 will give you experience too.
Which give you only 850.
Yeah, which is funny.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Go ahead.
the Soul Blade can hit spirits and metal items like the Zantetsu and the Spirit Sword, but what it can do that no other sword can do is defeat kind of these objects and traps, and which is very key because in the very end of the game, there are these rotating like walls that it can defeat that give you a lot of experience. And so if you are not level 24 yet, which as Rose said you need to be, it's pretty easy to just grind on those rotating walls. That sounds weird, but there's the Zantetsu sword.
Very nice. Well set up to take out any remaining enemies. Also, Tinted Razor has the second Dancing Grandma, so now just requires the 3 red hot items to give to them so they can perform their dance. Oh, yeah. Axeman just got the red hot stick. The stick, the ball, and the mirror, so the red hot grandmas can do their dance and summon the final boss.
Yeah, because if you don't talk to them, you can't. The area with the final boss just won't be there.
Yep.
Which is very important in the randomizer, because normally that they also give you something you need for the end of the game anyway. But with
oh wow, that's a lot of lag that X-Man's dealing with.
yeah, this one little pit that Axeman's in, because there's 4 shrines there. It's crazy. These birds love creating just an absolutely insane amount of lag.
This game is absolutely a tank and this game will not crash regardless of how much is on the screen. It will drop sprites. Sometimes the map can get really glitchy, but it will not crash.
No.
But it will get extremely laggy and you will kind of wish that it wasn't.
Yes. Usually the only real impact is obviously the lag itself, and then sometimes if you're in an area, Model Town seems to be where this happens the most for me.
Yeah.
Is it will get so laggy that you can't cast spells. Like
Yeah.
your spell animations won't actually occur.
Yeah. You hit the sprite limit and you just can't do more, which, because magic is the only long-range way you have of dealing with things, can be a problem when you need to kill things that are farther away to, reduce the number of sprites on the screen.
Yeah. So it looks like so it looks like everybody's doing different things. So Dented Razor has been staying in Act 1, doing kind of those extra checks in Act 1. It looks like the Axeman kind of stayed in Act 3 and has been doing the things that are there. Lost Score went ahead and went to Act 4, did everything that he could do. There is an item check that is required that I think that he ran into where you need the mushroom shoes, which are... they're shoes that have like snail goo on the bottom that you need to use to get around some of these icy areas and not just slide along them.
Naturally, when you need to not slip on ice, you just equip mushroom shoes, snail goo on the bottom.
Yeah.
Right? What are you doing, Link? You gotta get the mushroom shoes.
Yep. So it looks like now the Axeman and Lost Core have kind of gone and switched to what the other one is doing, where Axeman has gone ahead and gone to World 4, and Lost Core has gone back to the third act to go and do some of those things. Dented Razor's going to tell us what the emblem is going to give us.
Yep.
Okay, let's find out. Deer's going to smack the tree a bunch of times.
Is it going to be worth it?
Oh, you already have a medical herb! How did I know?
Yeah. You really don't want to see something important on that check, but it can also be devastating to just see a medical herb or strange bottle that you already have, too.
Yeah. Definitely. So Dented Razor is now, after clearing out more of Act 1, has gone ahead and gone to Act 3, and looks like is going to just really methodically go through these areas kind of one by one. It looks like he's going to talk to all the mermaid statues, open up all these different parts of Act 3 and go through and do that.
Yeah, it looked like it really paid off to go back and finish Act 1. Got access to the delicious seeds, which got the soul armor, got Light Arrow, which is a handy spell.
It's a super handy spell. Light Arrow, often thought to be the best spell in the game, even though in the vanilla version, I think it's the second spell you get.
It is, yeah.
But it deals a lot more damage than the Flame Ball, and the really nice thing about it is that it shoots in all 4 directions rather than just the direction that you're facing in, so you don't have to worry about where your character is pointing. You can just kind of fire off at will, especially when you've got the magic bell or hundreds and hundreds of gems. You can just kind of go ham with it.
Yeah, and it only costs 8 gems, which isn't too bad in the grand scheme of things. Most expensive magic, I believe, costs 20 gems.
That sounds right to me.
Yeah. Although, unfortunately, magic will be of no help against bosses. I believe bosses are all immune to magic.
Yeah.
With the exception of Phoenix, though. Phoenix, I believe, is actually just treated as an extension of your sword. Which is why...
it works on the final boss.
Yeah, because essentially the final boss is across a chasm, so you simply can't reach it, and no other form of magic deals damage to bosses, so... But that also means it works well with the Super Bracelet and Power Bracelet for dealing double damage at that point, too.
Yeah, and that's a good call out of... there's the items that the runners all have to have, but then there are also some items that are kind of nice to haves. Some of that is just good magic like light arrow, nice to have. A good sword and good armor, nice to have. But then there are 3 bracelets. There are the shield bracelet, the power bracelet, and the super bracelet. The shield bracelet halves all incoming damage. The power bracelet doubles all outgoing damage, and the super bracelet does both. And definitely helps quite a bit just with time. If you get an early power bracelet or super bracelet, you just clear things so much faster.
Oh, absolutely, especially when you're wielding a sword that you cannot swing. Because as I said before, when you're just holding a sword in front of you, it deals a lot less damage. But the super bracelet and power bracelet still both double that damage. So that you can absolutely just wipe the floor with enemies a bit out of your league and level up more.
Yeah, absolutely. Axeman and Lost Core, probably really hoping to get to level 16 soon, and then they can actually start swinging that Zentetsu sword. They'll probably switch over to the Zentetsu sword at that point, but in the meantime, they're still just holding out that spirit sword that they got right at the beginning.
That was the one nice thing I did for them, picking the seed. I tried to get as mean a seed as possible, but I'm like, well, it does start with the spirit sword, so that's okay.
Yeah,
I can't complain too much.
I mean, and these are all pro runners. They've run plenty of seeds where you get stuck with just the base sword for a long time. You know, but that's definitely for any of you that are watching this that might be interested. I would say just like be okay with the fact that when you get those seeds where you don't get any equipment upgrades early, it's okay that you're going to die a lot.
There is no penalty for
will.
dying aside from losing your gems. So
I think the one of the very first seeds I did, I spent like just 45 minutes dying in Act 2, and that's okay.
Yeah, I am still learning very much the randomizer myself. Like, I've only been doing it for maybe half a year, and there are still times where I will still just get absolutely beaten down by enemies, but I mean, you learn, you get better, you figure out the enemy patterns, which helps as well. And it's just a learning thing.
So it looks like Axeman and Lost Core did get all of the item checks needed to free Gnome the Snail, and they are off to the 5th act. And you notice that they're still not level 16, so they do have to just sit there and hold their sword out, at least for a little bit. I'm sure they'll get there in this first screen. The amount of experience increases so much, but
you are seeing those enemies just zoom around the edges of the map. Those ones in particular can be a big problem when you can't swing the sword, because they will go across the entire map, like regardless of whether they are on screen or not.
Yeah.
So you really hope those are on a shortcut layer that you don't really need to complete at that point.
Yes. One of the other reasons why it's nice to be able to swing your sword is that the enemies will be stunned for a little bit when you hit them with a swing, but when you're just holding your sword out, that doesn't happen. So when you can swing your sword, you can kind of stun lock those guys that are zipping around. You can see Axeman just did that now that he's level 16, and then Lost Core doing the same thing. They couldn't do that if they couldn't swing their sword.
And it is nice when they spawn, they can see on Lost Core's screen, they just kind of get stuck going in circles if they're not touching the edge of the screen when they spawn. So.
Yeah, which is frankly a godsend. That's
what you
want to see. You want to see them just going around in circles. because it's a very easy way to just lose an outrageous amount of time if you let them get past you, and then you've got to figure out where they are and try to kind of find a choke point to get them.
Yeah, and so again, in these underground areas in Act 5, most of the enemies are metal and require the Zantetsu sword or the soul blade to defeat, with the exception of the little inchworm type enemies and the little kind of robo maids that have the little brooms and spin around. Only enemies you can defeat without those swords, because normally you would find the metal sword very shortly into this stage, but not have it coming in. So
Yeah, there's a couple of things that are rare to happen in the logic, but do happen sometimes, and that might include things like having to go into this area without the Zantetsu sword and hope to get the Zantetsu sword in one of those checks. Same with the Spirit sword in the next act, having to go back and do that in go into the first screen without the Spirit sword and hope that it's in one of those item checks.
yeah. Oh, that's working out well. The little... I don't know what those things are, the little racers now.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So we can see, Axeman Lost Core, very ironically, they made a different choice on where to go in Act 3 and Act 4, but since both of them were needed, they kind of ended up catching back up with each other and being at basically the exact same spot. Razor has just been kind of backtracking every time that he can. And so he is back to World 1 again, finishing up that World 1, because that also has some enemies that you need the Zantetsu sword.
Yep. Yeah, the first 3 worlds all have just a handful of metal enemies to really keep you on your toes, get you to come back. Not too many, thankfully. Although, he is stuck just holding the sword in front of him, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's kind of also showing the difference in the amount of experience points that enemies give. It might look like he's super far behind because he's only level 14 instead of 17, but that's because he's been in areas giving less experience points.
Yeah. And he's also discovered some very valuable information about item locations as well that the other runners are going to have to kind of scramble for later. So.
What did he find?
Just like the delicious seeds for the soul armor.
Oh, yeah.
And having the light arrows are kind of nice. I can't entirely remember if there were any other important checks that showed up in them.
No, that's... The light arrow is especially helpful for an area that none of the runners have gone into, which is the kind of the back half of Act 4 has these magicians that teleport.
Yes.
And they take forever, and so your goal, because they just spin around and you can't hurt them, and then they teleport somewhere, and then you have to hit them.
Yeah, they teleport and have a lot of iframes.
And so the goal is usually to be far enough away from them and let them just kind of spawn on the spot, and then just kill them with magic. And light arrow is by far the easiest way to do that.
Yes. Yeah, as soon as you get in range to them, you're just losing a lot of time. And Act 4 also has a lot of areas that are kind of awkward to get to with the screen transition and that can make approaching them, even when using magic, difficult. So.
Yes, yeah, because they'll start spinning when you're still pretty far away.
Stone.
Yeah.
And it looks like... Oh no, they're in basement 1, not basement Not the power plant.
No, yeah, they're not in the power plant.
Yeah.
Power plant's one of those areas that like it's pretty empty. You kind of like walk through a lot of space, but most of the monster areas just have you go farther. Not a lot of them are actual NPC checks. And there's only one chest in that area, so it's often.
Sorry, there's 2 item checks there. There's the chest and the ferry.
Oh, that's true. There's the ferry. I don't know. Have you had that ferry actually give you anything good? The chest gives me good stuff a lot, but I don't know
think the last week. Oh, I don't remember if the last weekly seed had something there or not.
Yeah. No, but you're absolutely right. There's the chest, but there's also the ferry. But it's some areas are kind of more rich in checks.
And specific types of checks even too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Underwater Act 3 has a lot of item checks in particular.
Yep.
A lot of shortcuts though unlocked in Area 5. So you probably will see them skipping a number of enemies or layers just because they really don't need the shortcuts. Like, they're helpful if you're coming back to an area, but it's very rare that they actually open areas to progress to.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the big examples is in the last area. There's 2 towers. There's left tower and right tower, and they are as different as can be in terms of the quality of the checks involved. Left tower is affectionately called lag tower because there's so many areas.
Oh, that's
the
so
lag
real.
the lag is so bad, and all of the checks there just give you farther. There aren't that many NPC checks, and I don't remember if there's any item checks in left tower. Versus right tower has tons of item checks, and they often have necessary things in them.
I think it has 1 item check left tower, if I'm correct.
Well,
I
it
think
has a
there's
crystal
one
ferry, so
yeah,
there's a crystal ferry at the very end. So I think that's the only one. And then it has, like, I want to say 4, maybe 5 NPC checks, something like that.
Yeah.
And versus right tower has at least, depending on how you define it, like 6 item checks and a whole bunch of NPC checks. So it's so you'll see that runners will often go into right tower very quickly and will often ignore left tower as much as they possibly can.
Yeah. And coming back to what you said about the power plant, well, it's an area that runners do like to normally skip. No too big spoilers, but they are going to have to go there.
Ah, fun.
Yeah, like I said, I picked a seed that shows off a lot of areas you don't tend to go to.
Yeah, that's those can be fun. Sometimes, I mean, the logic has a lot of things that are possible but aren't likely, and so the runners obviously they've run a lot of seeds, and so they're going to default to what's likely. But there's a lot of stuff that sometimes you're like, wow, I thought I checked everything. What's possible here? And then sometimes it's, oh, I could do this thing that I almost never have to do, but maybe I have to do it this time.
Yeah, in particular, there's a number of resources for this game, including one Google document, I believe it is, but and it just shows what item checks, the likelihood of certain item checks actually having progression items, and some of them are very much 0. In particular, in Act 6, you can unlock the Queen, but she will never have a progression item on her because she is a missable check. I believe just in the Fire Shrine right here, there's the 2 stairways you see on Dented Razor's screen. The second stairway is at first a chest, which then another layer will turn into a stairway. And of course, you can't have a important item on that either, being missable. Yeah.
The logic is set up so that no essential items can be irrevocably missed, right? Because that would be
Yeah.
obviously awful. So we can
Yeah.
so we can see the runners kind of all doing different things. It looks like Lost Corps went ahead and went into one of the model towns, while Axeman went back to Act 1. Dented Razor kind of in continuing to do the strat of just kind of going and doing all of the backtracking whenever possible, has gone back to Act 2 and is clearing out all of those metal enemies in the Fire Shrine, which we had talked about when they were going through the Fire Shrine in the first place. Takes a while because they're kind of spread out over the whole room.
Yeah, it's wonderful when you just find the Zentetsu sword the first time you're there, so you can take care of everything at the same time. Backtracking takes quite a while here.
Yeah, and we can see the difference because Lost Corps hasn't gone back to it, but since he's level 18, he can actually swing it. You can see how quick the difference is on how quickly you can fight damage those things when you can actually swing the Zantetsu sword versus just holding it out in front of you.
I think Dented Razor has also found the ice armor. Yes, he has, which makes it a lot faster to go through here. Or no, he has not. My bad.
He might have found it and just not considered it worth equipping.
Yeah, I thought I missed him taking damage. The issue being that there are, particularly these two up here, these two scorpions keep going around the heated floors, the magma floors.
Yeah.
Which can make it a real pain, especially if you're low on life, to take care of them.
Yeah. Ironically, and I don't think I knew about this when I first played the game vanilla. The ice armor actually comes back and is helpful in Dr. Leo's laboratory also. They bring back those floors and they deal a lot more damage the second time around. So.
Oh, they do.
Being able to go and do that is helpful.
And with that, it looks like a couple of players have completely finished all of the dungeon areas in Act 2, which is quite helpful. Now the only things to come back here for are item checks.
Yeah, because in addition to the NPCs that you need for progression, like the mayor and the queen and Gnome the snail, there are also NPCs that you unlock that will just give you items when you talk to them or interact with them in the overworld. And so they'll be going and checking for that because often that's where a lot of the necessary items for completion are going to be just talking to a bird or,
Yeah. Sometimes there's a shy bird, and if you don't talk to it, you just don't get the item you need.
Yeah, and we've already seen that here, that soul armor being kept by that squirrel. You got to unlock that squirrel.
Yeah, hungry squirrel. Gotta feed the squirrel to get your soul armor.
No.
So we had Lost Corps talking to a sleeping stump, which dreams of being a bird, in order to gain access to an item check as well. A lot of bizarre things in this game.
Yeah, they don't really explain about the fact that the things that you change in the dream world also affect the waking world. I don't know if there's some deep lore there, but there's an item called the Dream Rod, which is, I guess, technically not needed, but basically,
it's also not the same one as
always is. No, definitely not. But you use it to go into people's dreams, like Lisa's dreams or that Stump's dreams, and they will. There'll often be item checks that are kind of hidden behind that logic. We can see
item checks, and there's also a couple of layers within them that you can only access through the dreams. Like this one here in Lisa's dream will unlock that area to the south of the second part of the underground castle that Axeman is currently checking out right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, so. There's
Yeah,
only
everybody's
about, I
having
want
to
say
talk to
6 or
Lisa.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
I
only, I
think that
believe, about 7 or 8 Dream Rod checks.
I can tell you. So there's Lisa in Act 1. In Act 2, there's the Stumps Dream. Talking to Turbo's Bones involves that you go into the Bird's Dream.
Yep.
There's the big Pearl check, where you not only need to go into someone's dream, but you actually need to give them an item in that dream.
Yes.
In World 3. In World 4, there's the Mushroom.
Yep, Mushroom, there's the cat.
The cat in World 5, and there's the Sleeping Soldier in Act
Yep.
6. And a lot of the later dreams involve kind of cutscenes, which are pretty time consuming. The Sleeping Soldier, very helpfully, a different NPC check will just tell you what the Sleeping Soldier has, and it's always
and it's
very
when
nice.
you unlock him, so you don't even have to go talk to him.
Yeah, so if you unlock him before you unlock the Sleeping Soldier, that's always really great, especially if you find out that he doesn't have anything that you need. You just get to skip having to actually go into that dream.
Yeah, that's one of the few. Like, Dented Razor just unlocked a mermaid who asked if anyone needs a medical herb that the randomizer does. It provides you with a little bit of information of some of the checks that give you items, which is great for quality of life.
Yeah, there's 2 in particular that are, because a lot of those are in the vanilla game. They also say that, like, they say what they have. Hey, does anyone want a blank? Right, like the boy in Act 4 has the mushroom shoes, so he'll say, does anyone want mushroom shoes? But
right, yes, to make sure you get the important things.
But there's 2 that are changed in the randomizer specifically for quality of life. There is there's a spirit in World 6 that tells you where the Zantetsu sword is,
Yes.
just in case you still don't have it. And there is a goat in World 1.
Yes, the gourmet goat.
Where he will tell you, if you give him goat's food, which is an item that you can acquire. If you give him the goat's food, he will tell you the location of a few possible different things. You don't know which thing he's going to tell you where it is.
Yeah, he'll either tell you the soul blade, the soul armor, or the phoenix.
Yeah. Fun fact, Rose, I don't know if you did this week's stream, but I used the gourmet goat this week.
Did it help?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, because the gourmet goat tends to be a bit of a meme, because he doesn't give you... I found out more recently that he gives you very vague info. He will tell you the area that it is found in, but that can be extremely misleading. Based on the checks in it, they can have a lot of different requirements.
Yeah. That is true. Yeah, I try to use him anytime I can.
Nice. And since he only tells you one of the 3 randomly, it could be an item that you already have in your inventory as well. Or it's like, if you're missing one of them, it's like, I really need Phoenix, and he tells you where the Soul Blade is, and it's like, I already have that.
Yeah.
And he will say nothing more than seed.
Yep, definitely a meme. But it's always fun when you can have the meme actually be helpful.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Alright, of course, over the hour mark. I do want to have one more donation. It was a while back and just popped up in my tracker from Moomin Gamer, $25. So Moomin Gamer 7, thank you very much for the donation. No comment, but leave it in chat. Spread the word. So thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so you can see Dented Razor now after having done, I'm pretty sure, all the backtracking.
In Act
in
1,
the-
yeah.
in Act 1 and Act 2, just basically getting that completely done, is in World 3 now.
Ooh, Axeman has just unlocked Emblem Check. Is he gonna go check and see what's there?
That's a good question.
I've got nothing for you.
Yeah. So we mentioned that some of the that you end up with a lot of medical herb checks. Also, some of the checks just say nothing.
Yep.
And so if you're talking to one of the fairies, they'll just say, "I've got nothing." You'll open a treasure chest and it'll just say nothing. And the most concerning ones are for the checks that are just things lying on the ground, because just nothing comes
Yep.
up at all, and you get a little worried about, like, wait, am I clicking the right spot? Wait, maybe let me click again. Maybe
Yeah, that is a
nope,
thing.
nothing's there.
In particular, closing layers is a bit of a skill. You do have to step on them just right for them to actually close. So you definitely can be you could see Dented Razor just kind of walking back and forth a little bit there, trying to get it shut.
Yeah, because it's got to be on a particular, a very particular spot. Same with opening up chests, unfortunately. And I think this is where the fact that this was a very early Super Nintendo game really shows itself, is in small things like that.
Not to mention that this was Quintet's second game. They did not have a lot of experience at this point.
Yeah, very true.
But the one thing I find very helpful in particular is when you hold the sword down, you can actually, it's the only time in the game you can strafe.
Yeah.
So it is very helpful. If you hold the sword upwards, if you walk towards the chest, you will automatically open it because you are facing upwards at the appropriate time. And the game will also slightly help if you're just barely off an edge. It will just kind of push you to the side to get you in line. So there are some things you can do to make it much easier.
Yeah, often just kind of, if you're off in a weird way, sometimes just walking up against a wall, it'll kind of force you back in line, and then you can use that to do that. I've definitely done that in Hype Cave in Act 1. Sometimes I'm just like, I can't get these 2 treasure chests to open. Here, I'll walk against the wall. Okay, now I can.
Yeah, again, I'll just always go in there, immediately hold down the hold sword in front, and just crab walk up to them.
So we can...
Speaking of crab... Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, I was going to say, it looks like Lost Core finally going back and going back to Act 1, and Axeman going back to Act 2.
Yep, the second part of the underground castle and the fire shrine. Yes, they have... I don't think they have access to Area 6 yet.
No, they don't. And I think that's why Lost Core went up and did the model of town to try to get there. Okay, and that's where Marie is.
Yes, but are the steps there, though?
I'm not sure if the very last set of stairs are there for Lost Core or not. The fact that he was able to get to the right model of town meant that the first set of stairs is there, and the door is there.
The door, yeah.
So in the same way that there's a number of checks that are needed for Act 4 for Gnome, there's a number of checks that are needed for Act 5 for Marie. There's 2 sets of stairs, a door, and then Marie herself. And then it goes back to being easy, because for Act 6 you only need 2 checks. King Magrid and the castle that he's in.
Yes, the soldier standing in front of the castle. I see we've got Dented Razor going out to clear Act 3, going towards... It's not Blaster, what is Durian at the moment, it seems. I believe? Yes, he's in the Durian.
Yeah, that's Durian. Yeah.
Durian's not a fun place to check, traditionally, so...
Yeah, it's... along with the very first area, it's It's the only other place that is just basically exclusively uses a death warp.
Yes.
And that is because it's got these big things of molten lava, and the intended thing to do is to go all the way up to the top and use Mermaid's Tears, right, Rose?
Yep.
You use Mermaid's Tears at the top, which takes all the lava spots and cools them off, and then you can go to the last checks and some of the treasure chests and stuff. But again, that's slow. That takes too long. So
Yep.
instead, you just skip that. You even if you have the Mermaid's Tears, you never use it. You just go and clear all the checks by damage tanking, because you're always higher level than you should be when you go and do Durian.
Yes, but because it uses the Mermaid's Tears, the lava areas, they actually do substantial damage as well, and the ice armor does not help.
No,
unfortunately.
doesn't help. But so what they'll usually do is, because they're already taking damage from these lava areas anyway, and unlike unlike all of these other islands, there's no fairy to warp you back at the end. They will just damage tank, clear all of the last areas, and then they will just death warp by standing on that lava. Saves so they don't actually have to walk all the way back down, and they can skip those last few checks, so they never actually go up to the top of the volcano.
And it looks like Axeman is going up to talk to Marie. So he will have access to Area 6 now, which is very handy for getting your level up, but
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
take care of the model town right now, it seems.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if Axeman might death warp out of here. I've seen, I know Lost Core likes to do this too, where
Oh yeah.
you talk to Marie, you clear the check, and then by death warping out of the model town, you also
Got
save
it.
all of the time that you would do having to walk all the way back down the stairs.
Now these are some things I definitely didn't know.
Yeah, and stuff I only know from watching these guys go and play,
Yeah.
and going and seeing some of the more optional death warps that maybe only save a minute or so.
I am curious what item they're using, but we don't really have the ability to check. Oh, Phoenix showed up for Dented Razor in Durian.
Ooh, okay, and that might be big, because Durian is commonly something that people will only check later. So
Yes.
even
tends
though
to be a
he's
check of last resort.
even though he's still kind of just churning through. Has Dented Razor even gone into Act 4 yet?
I don't know if he has, honestly.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's even gone into Act 4. While the other people are in Act 5. I think he's still just going through very methodically, just going through every area, clearing out everything that he can.
Yep. And with my trolley seed, that's going to be a big help for sure.
I wonder if he did it just thinking, well, this might be helpful if it's a trolley seed.
I mean, yeah. And you can see that Axeman is dealing with some invisible enemies at the moment.
Yeah.
Another one of those things that you can get a soul to help you. Because their soul is like the soul of reality helps you see the invisible enemies in the model of town. There's the soul that knows the secret paths in a basement in Area 6, helps you see hidden paths. Soul that lights the way is a mole that lets you see in the dark.
Yeah, and then the Area 3 one technically helps you from those volcano things
Yes.
that are just putting down, but honestly, I don't. It seems very unnecessary compared to the other ones.
You have to go pretty far out of your way to do that.
Yeah, so we can see Dented Razor death warping there.
Yep.
That's always the spot where you'll death warp. Yeah, the I won't lie, the invisible enemies in the model towns, I'll get that soul if I can,
Yeah.
even though it takes, takes 10 to 15 seconds. Because the enemies are randomized, which enemies are invisible is also randomized. So if you kind of have to know where every single enemy is going to be, and if you
Enchanted
don't
Razor
know,
unlocking the Sleeping Dolphin check in Lost Reef.
interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, that's definitely a check. That's
Yeah.
probably one of the most common checks that gets skipped. Is you got to give that big pearl to the dolphin, and it unlocks a cave that has 4 treasure chests in it. And you might think, wow, that's 4 item checks. That's got to be like so important. But I don't know why. I don't know what it is about the logic that you will find that, 80% of the time, 90% of the time, if you bother going into those 4 checks, what you're going to get is a whole bunch of medical herbs.
Yeah, it's 4 gems.
Yeah, it's just...
Yeah, it requires 2 different items. It requires the Dream Rod to get in the dream, the Pearl to give the dolphin in the dream. Then it requires a couple of soul checks, because you need access to the dolphin. So you need the dolphin, and you need to be able to walk to the area to take the little, in-level warp to get to him. So it probably requires a good 5 or 6 checks just for those 4 items.
Yeah, and so it often doesn't get unlocked until very late in the logic. And so, since it gets unlocked so late in the logic, it just very often doesn't have anything that you need.
Yeah.
So let's go find out. This is the cave right here. Let's go and find out. This is gonna tell me how trolly your seat is more than anything else.
I'm already I know what happens here, but I'm just gonna be quiet. Ooh, finding the mushroom shoes in the basement underground. There was also another stone over there for Axeman 2.
Yeah, the Axeman and Lost Core are in Area 6.
The red hot ball.
Red hot ball. Okay, yeah. And
VIP
the VIP card. VIP card is needed to go into that right tower, which tends to have a lot of really good stuff.
Yeah, and it also has the very infamous Leo check. And
yes,
the terrible boss with the boba key.
Yeah, that boss is one of the, if not the last thing. Is that the very last thing that you would check? It's the last thing that I check.
Absolutely.
That boss takes forever.
Unless I happen to be level 24 and have Phoenix and can use it, I will absolutely skip that, because then I can just... The boss stays away from you. There's also a wind effect pushing you backwards.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a Storm Evil, like a Mega Man X type boss. But it's a terrible boss.
And in the vanilla game, it is a very challenging boss. I remember when I first played this game, I think I was 8 or 9 years old, and I could not beat that boss. I couldn't do it. I didn't know how it was possible. It wasn't until I came back to it as an adult and I found out about where the super bracelet is, which again doubles your damage and halves the amount of damage you take.
Oh shit. Sorry.
Oh yeah, that's another good troll. That's another.
It really is.
I love it when there's a good item on the ghost ship. So for those of you that and this is the boss of Act 3, by the way, is this skull. So you find out from talking to an NPC that there was this father and son on this ghost ship who starved to death, and the son was like, I'm gonna put 1 gem in this treasure chest, and maybe someone will get it later, and then you go and get that 1 gem. It's very poignant. But in the randomizer, that 1 chest sometimes has a key item in it.
Oh yeah, and because it's also got the boss in the same little area, the bosses again only unlock 1 soul check, so your mileage can really vary with whether or not you want to even fight them in the first place a lot of the time. So It's an area that doesn't see a lot of checking, but has 2 checks that can. I mean, it's a randomizer. They can be important.
Yeah, absolutely. And luckily, the first 4 bosses are pretty quick, as long
Yeah.
as you're often over leveled with a better weapon than you should have, so you can beat them
Yes.
pretty quickly. It's really the bosses of the 5th area and the 6th area that are particularly problematic, because the 5th one is a metal enemy, and therefore you have to use the Zentetsu Sword of the Soul Blade, and it teleports around, just takes a while to beat.
Yeah.
And we've already explained how awful the 6th one is. But the first 4 are pretty straightforward. If you're over leveled, you can usually beat them very quickly.
Yeah, in fact, I've actually learned some wonderful tricks for dealing with the 5th boss myself, like from watching streams.
No.
If you don't move left or right, if you only move up or down, he will not teleport.
Oh, see, I figured that out just by pure dumb luck. I didn't know that was true, but I just started doing it. And I was like, wow, this is so helpful that he's not teleporting around when I do this.
Dented Razor managed to find the power bracelet on a hidden hidden snail. Which will be very helpful for getting through areas faster.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, Act 4 is so interesting in that because so many of the NPCs are needed to get to the between the king and the snail, there's only 2 NPCs that give you an item in Act 4. There's that hidden snail, and there's the boy that would normally give you the mushroom shoes, and that's it, which is very different than all the other areas.
There's also Gnome technically as well, but
well, and the king technically,
yeah.
But in terms of like things you have to go back for.
Axeman just unlocked a door, and that door is special because it's the soul of unreality. That's right, that soul is also from the heavens, just like that door is also from the heavens, just like you. The black stone for Dented Razor in Lanol Underground. On the moon side.
Yeah, since and this is where the fact that he has light arrow is going to really help him.
Yes.
With some of these, we can see he's using them on the bats, which is also usually faster than going and chasing them down.
Axeman's also making good use of them with the little orbs in Act 6 that just kind of teleport around.
Yes, they are so helpful for that. That was something I only started doing recently, and it's so nice.
Lost Core and Axeman are also both in the same area again.
Yeah, they've really they've occasionally made different detours, but at the end of the day, they're still kind of, I think, checking all of the same places, just in slightly different orders.
Yeah, and it is nice to see Dented Razor trying a different approach.
Yeah,
really
and
shows
we can see him using what you notice how that blue ball is way out in the corner, and he's using it to kill those red magicians before they can teleport around.
Alrighty, good news. More donations.
Oh, huzzah!
We have Josu55 for $25 saying all aboard the midnight donation train. Loving the race, very exciting so far. I agree, we have 2 racers going at on top there, the same kind of pathing, and we have a little variety in the bottom, so we have multiple ways to approach the seat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very, very interesting. Lost Core doing a Death Warp. I have never seen that Death Warp before. That's a very interesting place to do a Death Warp. I'm sure it saves time, but probably not a ton. I can't imagine that saves a lot of time, because there is a warp back just right on that same spot.
Yeah, there is a warp sanctuary, yeah.
I think he goes through the pathing of that floor a little differently. I think that's how it saves time.
And that really is the beautiful thing about this game, is that there are a lot of ways you can do things.
Absolutely. Lost Core going and talking to a set of drawers that actually has 2 item checks. There's one for the chest itself, and then there's one if you push it aside. And some of these item checks might seem a little weird, where they're going and just like picking up something on the ground or something like that. Those are, in the base game, those are item checks that are meant to be a little hidden because they're getting you optional items in the base game.
Yes.
And you're supposed to kind of figure them out by just trying things out or talking to NPCs. But obviously, in the randomizer, any of them might be super important, and we know where they all are.
Yes, in particular the emblems, which would normally find you the magic bell. Which, again, makes magic free. I believe it also works as a strange bottle, so if you die with it equipped, you don't lose any gems.
I think that's something that got added to the randomizer.
Oh, okay. Because I did notice Dented Razor did that right before the death war in Act 6.
Yeah, they added that, I think, to the randomizer. I think in the base game, it just makes magic free, but I could be wrong. It's unlocked right at the end of the game in the base game, so it's a little hard to tell. Like, I don't think that I ever even use it in the base game.
Dented Razor has successfully beat Poseidon and unlocked the Shy Bird, which is an item check.
It is absolutely an item check. I think I really struggled with the Shy Bird in the vanilla game. I was just like, man, I cannot get this bird to talk to me. You gotta approach it from behind it.
Yeah, there's a certain stump or something that tells you it's like, oh, Shy Birds are... It might be the one that you get with the bird, but it says that Shy Birds are often best approached from behind.
No.
Which often, honestly, sounds like a terrible way to approach anyone who's shy, is to go up and shock them.
Yeah, for real. And I think in the base game, the bird gets visibly surprised and like yells or something. For quality of life purposes, in the randomizer, some of the text dialogue spots have been changed, shortened.
Also just made funnier, more appropriate.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like Good Luck and or Blame Ever Hate is definitely an addition. There was no Ever Hate in the original.
Yeah.
A number of things, like when you die, you might see that the master is saying to them, it's like, oh, that was just a death warp, right?
Yeah. Yeah, all of that stuff, all of the things at the very beginning of the game and at the very end of the game have all been drastically changed, but even some of the regular NPC dialogue is changed maybe a little bit more slightly.
Oh, and Dented Razor found the guard
Yeah.
that tells you what the sleeping guard has.
Yeah, Sleeping Soldier has a medical herb, shocking. Color me surprised.
He's not exactly a long check, it maybe takes like 20 seconds, but if you can find that guard that tells you in advance, it's so much more helpful.
Oh, absolutely.
So all the runners are currently in Lake Loon.
Yeah, that's very funny with Lost Core and Axeman having come back to Act 4 and doing it, and Dented Razor just going through and methodically doing all of Act 4 from the beginning. Do we have anything from the host while we are here?
Nothing in the meantime. We have selections again. The last two were from Moon Gamer and JAS55. Just remind you all that the upcoming bids for tomorrow morning. Also, you have the Zelda Awakenings DX and Zelda Wind Waker are both sprite choices. So if you want to change how the sprite looks tomorrow morning, feel free to donate towards those costs. Again, all donations going towards NAMI, the National Alliance for Mental Illness. And, we appreciate any generosity. We appreciate any kind of commentary, retweets, spread the word. What you gotta do. we thank you all for your interest, and thank you all for helping out.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, we can see here Dented Razor is now in Act 5, going and fighting those metal enemies that Axeman and Lost Core fought quite a while ago. But having gone through and done all of the earlier checks, including some of those ones that often only get checked right at the very end, kind of puts him in a good spot to just kind of very methodically go and then eventually kind of catch up to where the other players are, as they will have to go and do those checks later. Versus Dungeon Razor's already done them.
Yes. We will also see Dented Razor just shoot up in levels as well at this point.
Yeah, as he catches up, that level difference of 18 versus 21 is going to clear up. So the 5th and 6th sword, the Zantetsu sword and the Spirit sword, are needed for those enemies. The Soul Blade is also needed for finishing the game with a level requirement of 24. There is one sword in between those two, the Recovery Sword, that you need to be level 22. And the helpful thing about that one is that it heals you every single time you defeat an enemy, which can be really helpful towards the end of the game.
It's also the second last sword, which means it's quite powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the advantage that Dented Razor has for these guys got away from him for having gone back and done all of those other areas earlier is that he is easily level 16 right off the gate, right? So not having to ever hold the sword out in front of him, he can swing it right from the outset. In addition to having light arrow versus flame ball.
He also found the power bracelet, though I'm not sure if he's got it equipped or not, which again doubles the damage. And when you're swinging and can hit enemies twice with that sword, it makes a big difference.
Yeah. I have to assume probably does. With all of these players having just an outrageous number of gems, right? All of them have over 1,000 gems. Having the magic bell equipped, it doesn't really wouldn't really matter very much.
No.
Anymore at this stage. They've got all the gems that they need to use magic for the whole rest of the game very easily.
Yes. The Phoenix spell, interestingly enough, because it goes off every time you fire your sword, only costs 2 gems. Because otherwise, it's a bit overkill if they were to price it higher than that.
Yeah, you have to use it. I'm sure there's an exact number of Phoenixes that you have to use. I don't know it, but you have to use it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is a dedicated magic button for all the other spells in the game. Phoenix is the only one that varies.
Yeah, and none of the runners should really have any trouble with the final boss. You have to be level 24 anyway, and level 24 is totally sufficient to defeat the boss when you are used to how that combat goes. But it does take some time to do it, because there's a cycle. You can only damage the end boss at a certain period of time.
And the homing laser attacks can be a bit dangerous if you don't have the super bracelet going in for the half damage.
Yeah, the super bracelet really helps out for the final boss if you have it. Makes the fight usually pretty trivial, but you have enough hit points that even if you don't, usually as long as you're not getting hit by everything, you still do have a medical herb that you can use if you absolutely have to.
Yeah, I absolutely got slammed when I did my first randomizer for this, because I hadn't played the game in some time, but it is something you get used to very quickly with the last boss. And if you are having trouble, there is a sanctuary warp right before the area you fight him, so you can just go save right in advance.
Yeah,
So if you
absolutely.
do lose all your gems and die, you can just reload, not lose
Yeah.
much.
And I'm sure we'll see at least some of these runners not even bother unlocking that last sanctuary warp because they'll feel so confident in it.
Ooh, silver stone found.
Yeah.
Or yeah, we've already mentioned that. Sorry.
Oh yeah, you're fine. Yeah, definitely intended in the game. One of the things that's really interesting is that last area with the final boss, Act 7, has no overworld aspect to it, so doesn't have any NPC unlocks, so it is, but does have quite a few treasure chests. And so one of the things that can be interesting is you need all 6 stones to go into Area 7. And a big thing that will vary 2 different runs is if stones are the very last things you need, then when you go into the last area, you can skip all the treasure chests and just go right to the end. But sometimes you get all of the stones and you still need red hot items, or you still need your soul blade or soul armor or phoenix, and then it's a question of, do I go to Act 7 and see if some of those items are in those treasure chests or not?
Yes.
And in particularly trolley seeds, you can have fun things like you get all of the stones super quickly, and something like the spirit sword is in a treasure chest in Act 7, and then you have to go, or the Zantetsu sword. I have actually had one where you have to go all the way to Area 7 to get the Zantetsu sword, to go back to Area 5 and actually be able to fight things. And
there
that's
was
awful.
a seed I considered for today that had the spirit sword in Act 7.
It's misery. It's just absolute because you're fighting extremely challenging enemies that expect you to have the 7th or 8th sword, and you're using like the lucky blade, right?
Yeah, they do massive damage, and there's a lot of ranged attacks coming at you in Area 7.
Yeah. There will also be a lot of lag.
Yeah, there are 2 enemy types, one of which just walks towards you and shoots rather wide-areaed beams, and the other one are insects that will fly on in cardinal directions and are completely invulnerable for half of their fly time, and then they stop and turn around and go another way.
Yeah, and it can be really nice if you don't have to worry about them, and you can just kind of speed past, ignore most of them, go right to the end. But sometimes you got to go and just check all those treasure chests. And we had mentioned the reason why. So the reason why the 6 stones are necessary is to even get to World 7. The game will not let you, even if you talk to King Magrid, it will look like you can go to Area 7, but it won't let you actually do anything there. You need the 3 red hot items and the king and the dancing grandmas to unlock where the final boss is in Act 7.
You can go
so
all the way
sometimes
to
the
the
red
last
hot
screen.
items are there.
Yeah, you can go all the way to the last screen, and the castle is not there.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
And then you need the soul blade and the phoenix to fight the final boss. You need the soul armor because the last screen of World 7 has these ghosts like flying through space, and they will damage you unless you have the soul armor equipped. So technically, if you need the soul armor, it might be in Area 7, but it can be at the very end of Area 7.
Yes. You need the soul armor to survive in space. You also must have both the soul armor and soul blade equipped to use Phoenix, in addition to being able to swing the sword at level 24. Yeah, also pay attention when we get to Act 7 because Quintet is very well known for their space backgrounds.
Yes, I think they used the exact same one in several games.
Yes, I believe so as well for the trilogy, yeah.
As well as there was these spirit enemies in Act 2 that they reused in
As the
Illusion of Gaia.
Moonfolk, yes.
Yeah. That's just
Yeah,
being
the little
efficient.
like kind of skulls of cloud kind of thing.
And this is where we see kind of things loop back around, as we can see that
Mhm.
Lost Core and Axeman are going back to Act 3, doing things that Dented Razor has already done, and this is giving Dented Razor an opportunity to go and do things. He is up to World 5 now.
Mhm. Yeah, it really can depend on the seed that will favor different playstyles, but this one's really making the players go everywhere.
Yeah, which we'll affectionately call a Hundo Blazer.
Yes.
As you are functionally 100%ing the game to get everything that you need. And, if it's a Hundo Blazer, then, I said earlier, there's two ways that you can have the faster time, skill or luck. If you have to check everywhere, luck doesn't matter. Now it's just pure execution.
Yes.
And that's where I don't know about you, Rose, but sometimes I'll do a seed and then I'll go and watch one of these people, one of these runners, run the same seed, and I'll be luckier and still be slower. I'll be like, man, I got to skip like 1 or 2 extra places, and it still took me 15 minutes longer.
Oh yeah, you'll see. Like several times. It's like talking about the weekly seed in the Discord, and it's like, oh yeah, it's like you'll see Lost Chord or X-Men be like, oh yeah, it was a Hundo Blazer, and like they've still got a time of like 2.5 hours, and I'm like 3 hours 15 minutes just crying in the corner. It's like it wasn't a Hundo Blazer for me.
Yeah. With that, I know we have a 3-hour estimate that is kind of with the assumption of a Hundo Blazer. I'm sure all of these players,
yes,
even if they have to do absolutely everything, will be able to do it within that time frame. Really, what often will get you past the 3-hour mark will be either if you miss something, which is the worst case scenario. You miss a check, you miss a treasure chest, you miss speaking to an NPC, and then you have to backtrack and figure out what you missed. That's a disaster. And we may see that happen. That can happen to anyone. Or unintentional deaths. Especially early game, you can kind of get stuck. You just die a bunch of times in a row, and that can cost you tons of time depending on how stuck you are.
Particularly when you're getting close to the end of the run, it can be a bit of trouble when you're stuck trying to decide between whether to go for soul checks, like NPC checks, or item checks. Because, some soul checks can unlock items, but if all you're looking for is one item, do I go to the item-heavy areas, or do I go to the more mixed areas?
Absolutely. Because there are some items like Durian that X-Men Lost Core in is surprisingly rich area. There's several treasure chests there. There's a decent number of NPC checks. But yeah, sometimes, especially at the end, if you're just looking for something like Phoenix down there, sometimes you go up, you're looking for that one thing, you find it, you're like, okay, I can skip the rest of this area, I'm done here.
Yep. And such should be the folly of hubris. In particular, the model towns can be there's something that are very easy to get into when you get to Area 5. But like they have over 20 what's the word? 20 layers in them. But most of them are just opening areas within the area. So if you haven't quite done the like model towns, do I do those and take a lot of time, or do I go someplace faster?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Lost Core decided to speak to the big pearl dolphin.
Yep.
A good call. I might have tipped my hand a little too much in telling the players about the seed, but
Telling them that it was well, and also there's a certain amount of like we are getting to the point in our 48 in because they did have that early spirit sword that made the early areas go by considerably faster than they otherwise would, and so they are getting to the point where Axeman and Lost Core they don't have a ton of places left. And so at that point you just start kind of just going in, and often it's just a matter of routing on the fly more than anything of like, okay, I'm gonna go to Act 3. What's everything I can do in Act 3? Okay, let me talk to all the NPCs. Let me talk to all the things. Now, like this dolphin here is not only a check in and of itself as you go and stand on his nose and he pushes you to a treasure chest, but there's also a mermaid behind him.
Yeah, it is very interesting how many of the NPCs you might just overlook as a new runner, but are quite important.
Yeah, and I would recommend if any of you decide that you want to run this, first off, it's a ton of fun. But you know, the first times that you run it, honestly, I think the way that Dented Razor has been doing it is a really smart way to do it if you're new, of just going and doing everything that you can think to do and just do that very methodically. And just because the first several runs are just going to be a lot of unintentional deaths and a lot of trying to make sure that you don't miss something.
There are also some great resources that, in particular, showing where all the hidden item locations are, tells you all of the NPCs that can have checks and such.
Absolutely.
With comparisons to the just standard game as well, to make it easy to reference where things are.
Yeah. There's a Discord community has trackers. I'm pretty sure, I know we can't see them on the screen, but I would be very surprised if all of these runners didn't have a tracker running to check for things like grandmas, how many stones they have, how many red hot items they have.
Yes, there is an auto tracker which will take care of all that for you. Gratefully, very much created by one of the people in the Discord and cannot be thanked enough.
No. Absolutely.
Yes. There are also weekly seeds that are available in the Discord too, so you can race offline, which in particular is very nice for me. It's you need to just take a break and step away, just pause the timer, come back, and then post the times online afterwards.
Yeah, I know. Rose, what made you decide to start running?
It was actually watching one of Mendez's runs on GDQ Hotfix.
Same.
Yeah, and that got me to join the community. I tried the randomizer once or twice for this game, but when I heard about the community, it sounded like a lot of fun, and joined in.
Yeah, I absolutely adore Soul Blazer. I would go and play it all the time anyway, and someone was like, "Oh, this gives me an excuse to play Soul Blazer more." Okay.
Yeah.
This gives me a reason I can play Soul Blazer every week. That's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really nice, and it is a decently long one, but there's really there's not a lot of super tricky things that you need to do.
Yeah.
It's really just the combat. Some seeds will be challenging with the combat. Some seeds will be pretty easy with the combat, depending on what items you get and what enemy spawns there are in the early game. And then really those invisible enemies in the model towns and the
Oh, we're
dark
about to see
area.
the dancing grandma.
Oh, dancing grandma's over on Lost Core's screen here.
Yep, here we go.
And this is
super
another thing
important
that
dance.
got modified. They don't actually say dancing grandmas in the base game, unfortunately. Oh,
It's
light
the light
armor.
That would have been nice earlier.
Light armor's... Oh, you explain light armor. It's great.
Okay, so the light armor is beautiful. It makes it so that the first 3 acts, nothing hurts you except environmental damage. So any form of enemy will just go ting and fail to do damage to you, including bosses.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Still need the bubble armor to get around, but once you get out of the water, the light armor is your best friend.
Yeah. And that'll be one of the reasons why runners will sometimes skip Act 3 or Act 2 or those other ones and then come back later, is kind of with like the secret hidden hope that maybe I get light armor. And if I get light armor, that's going to make this go so quick because I can basically ignore where I am because I
might want to
am literally invisible.
When you get it, because that ting sound gets... You don't have a lot of iframes in this game.
Yeah. There's a lot of tinging sounds.
Yeah, as going back to what you were saying about like the game is quite accessible, and it was a very early game by the group Quintet, who made these games for Enix back in the day. But because of that, the gameplay loop is a bit repetitive, though it is a lot of fun. So you don't have to learn to do too many things, and as well, your sword hitbox is absolutely ridiculous. Just holding out the sword in front of you, it looks very small, but there's a wide arc in front of you and to the sides of your character and a little bit behind them.
Yeah.
So combat isn't as bad as you'd think.
Yeah, no, combat is very kind. Really the only sometimes you won't have good, you won't get good armor, you won't get a good sword, and that might make it a little harder. But the basic mechanics of the combat is pretty clean. So we can see here, we had said that this was going to happen, and we see that it is, as Dented Razor is at Act 6 along with everyone else, right? Now you have Lost Core and Dented Razor both doing Right Tower at the same time.
Yes.
And Dented Razor is actually higher level now. He spent quite a bit of time being lower level, but he's actually level 22 instead of level 21. And it might be confusing as you look on Dented Razor's screen, as he looks like he's in the middle of the room. So the soul that you get access to, that we skip, of course, because it's slow, for Act 6 shows secret passageways and secret treasure chests. But obviously, the runners know where all those treasure chests are, and they know where all of those rooms are. So
yes, the room that Lost Core is in looks like a dead end, but there is actually a hidden staircase right above them to the right, which you'll see them take. As soon as they're done, that item check just walks up the wall and goes up the stairs.
Absolutely.
there are also a number of hidden chests, which it doesn't hurt to grab that speed early to help you find too.
Yeah, well, you can see that. Yeah, there's several treasure chests in the right tower, which is why runners will often go there. It's nice to go there when you're about this level, especially if you are lucky enough to have the recovery sword, because those knights spike out and they will damage you, and it adds up.
It is fun fact that they actually move in a chess piece knight fashion.
They sure
They
do,
will.
which is a great eye for detail that they decided to do that.
It's just a lovely little thing. They become completely invulnerable when they shoot out the spikes too, which is not so fun. But...
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna get Dr. Leo check from Dented Razor.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. Okay, so we've saved Dr. Leo, and they're getting ready to go in an airship, and Queen Magrid says, "Kill this loser," and kills the soldiers that we've rescued. Wait, there's more! Oh, here's Lisa, which, by the way, it's really funny when this happens, when neither the Queen nor Lisa have actually been freed. The logic does not care. It will still do this screen. But, oh!
Ooh, the Soul Blade.
Ooh! That's another trolling check. Well done, Rose.
Yes.
Yeah, he will hand something to you in the vanilla game that is the key to the airship, and you're supposed to go on this airship.
Oh wow!
And we can tell Dented Razor is only doing this because you said this is a trolley seed. I guarantee you, if he did not know this was a trolley seed, he would not be going and fighting this boss. But we'll get to see it.
All I said was that this seed, this shouldn't be a seed that you probably won't finish this seed early. That's all I said.
Oh, they'll still finish it early.
Well, yeah. Like too early is what I meant. It's not like we have to worry about too underestimate was what I was thinking.
Yeah, and we can see here how this thing is like swooping and diving. It's a huge pain. It takes forever.
It's a brutal boss.
Also, I have flashbacks because I rented Soul Blazer when I was a kid, and I couldn't get past this guy, and then I had to turn in the game without finishing it.
Oh wow, getting
very
so close
sad.
to life.
Ooh, okay, gets it done.
I've never actually seen that strategy.
I actually haven't either.
I tend to just sit behind the wheel and just fire the Phoenix up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Lost Core getting the Soul Blade as well.
Yep. Now the other item, there's a secret item check that gets prompted by this happening as well, which is the fact that the Queen is gone. There's actually a secret item check where the Queen was standing. And you can go in the base game, that's where the super bracelet is, which is why it's kind of it makes the game kind of trivial, because it's really expected to be kind of this secret item that you unlock at the end of the game.
Yeah.
That you probably only knew about if you like read the Nintendo Power article or something.
I gotta love those days where we're gonna just hide stuff in very bizarre places so that you have to call the hotline.
Yeah. Because when I found out, wait, there's an item that makes this easier. We can see Lost Core doing it also. Neither of them are willing to. Neither of them are willing to take a chance.
I really gotta say nothing about the next seed I give them.
But yeah, when you when that Queen goes and gets blown up, you go and get that super bracelet. So that's another item check that can happen. But this also very unfortunately means that they have to talk to Lisa. That's even worse. Often they'll just ignore Lisa. They'll walk past, and then they'll do that other item check where they'll go in and see what's there.
Yeah, to be clear, canonically, Lisa is your love interest. Like, the character is actually an angel, not a human who has been sent to help revive the world. but it actually stays behind and becomes human for a time to be with Lisa at the end of the game.
Yeah.
But here it's just we'll go into her dream if we need to get an item check and then just run away. And then her father does a heroic sacrifice, and we also just leave right away.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, interesting choice here by Lost Core using the magic flare spell to go and deal with these guys.
Oh yeah.
It's a little trickier to use, but it deals a lot of damage.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, Magic Flare and the Light Arrows are really the only spells really worth using, aside from Flame Ball.
Yeah, you'll often use other spells because you have to. There are some that can be helpful for certain things, like the Flame Pillar. I'll sometimes use those for bats.
Oh yeah, that would help a lot actually.
But because they'll just fly into the Flame Pillar over and over again and die. But a lot of the times you're using Light Arrow if you have it, and you're usually using other spells because you don't have the spells that you would like to use. The infamous one being Tornado.
Oh yeah, Tornado's a meme in itself.
If you have to use Tornado, that's a rough spot to be in.
Yeah, it just kind of randomly shoots a tornado in a direction, and you cannot fire it again until it disappears.
Yeah. We see Axeman also dealing with this. Dented Razor's going back to
Bluster, I believe.
to Bluster, yeah.
Yeah, as you can see, that Dr. Leo cutscene is quite long. In order to access it, you have to rescue both Dr. Leo and the 2 guards that agree to go with him. So it's a bit of a complicated check to unlock, and there's quite a bit of dialogue there. So.
Yeah. But weirdly enough, in the logic, it, like you would think, oh, there's one item check, but I'll tell you, at least like anecdotally, it seems like you're way more likely to get something good from Dr. Leo than you are from those 4 treasure chests in Act 3 that you get from that
the
big
hidden
pearl.
reef one.
And that's one of the fun things that you kind of just discover by doing it. Like, there's logic. Like, you can go and some people have gone and run the math a bunch of times.
Axeman found the super bracelet in vanilla location.
Oh, incredible!
Is this even randomized?
Is this?
Yeah, but the right tower also unlocks a out of logic check. There are a bunch of guards that are with the queen who also kind of get blowed up. And one of which is the guards for both the left and right tower. And well, you're already in the right tower, so it doesn't matter. Within the base game, you're supposed to have completed the left tower by then. But if you don't have the platinum card, which you need to, get the guard to step out of the way, beating the right tower and going through the Dr. Leo scene will open it up.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, and it's in the base game that's meant to just be kind of like a little bit of a cool flavor thing of like, those guards that got blown up were the ones guarding the left and right tower. But obviously, since we're not doing things necessarily in the order that we're expected to, so we can see that everybody's really just going and checking the very last places.
Oh, Axeman is checking the guard. Looks like he doesn't have anything under his feet.
Yeah, one of the other nice things that saves time is that in the base game, something that you're expected to get is, I think where the platinum card is in the base game is under this guard's feet, and you have to give a harp string to a musician. He starts playing a sad song about Lisa, and because he's also randomly met Lisa in the past
Oh,
and
wow,
fell in love
okay.
with her. And then
This is
and
a
then he
problem
plays.
with not having enough female characters.
Yes, very, very much so. And so he plays this song, and then the guard is so roused in like, oh my god, this is so great, that he wants to get closer to the musician, and so you can go and get the platinum card from him. But luckily, a hint for that is supposed to be that if you talk to him, it will say, hey, you see this platinum card under his feet, and that's supposed to kind of hint to you that you need to do something to make him move. And so for the randomizer, this is great because even if you have the harp string, you get to find out, is this something that is worth talking to this musician at all, or not?
Yeah, and it's also nice that if there's nothing there, it just doesn't bother to say if there's an item under his feet.
Yeah, it just
but
won't say anything.
It's also an interesting feature of the randomizer in that, like the item under the soldier's feet does not appear until the soldier does. So even if you like get the musician and have that area kind of like be rebuilt, still can't check the check until you get the soldier. So
yeah, and there's a few things like that where they'll some item checks are contingent, like there's an item check that's by the castle, but it won't unlock until you unlock the castle.
Yep. And here we see some interesting use of Mode 7 in the Ice Hill for Lost Core and Dented Razor. Only area that bothered to do something like this, looks really cool, doesn't show up afterwards. Because, yeah, if they go to the far left or right of this screen, you'll see those big icicles pop up.
Yeah. We can see, Dented Razor and Lost Core are both finishing up. There's kind of 3 different sections of Act 4, and in fact, all of these different areas, when you're speedrunning them, can be kind of, especially with the randomizer, can be kind of broken up into different sections. So for Act 4 can really get broken up into 3 sections, which is the first part that you can just go into from the beginning, the second part, which you need the mushroom shoes for and build off the first part, and then the third part, which has a separate entrance and that you need the lucky blade to be led into. And so they've done the first and the third part, but the second part you have to backtrack through the whole first part to get there. And so that's another area that they will, and it's very time consuming with these wizards. So often runners will save it for towards the end, and really only do it when they think that they'll need to.
Mm-hmm. Looks like the runners are still looking for King Magritte at this point.
They I think they all have all of the stones and all of the red hot items.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Axeman's going to see the dancing grandmas now.
Yeah, because and the soul blade was with King Leo. The soul armor was the squirrel, and the phoenix was in Durian.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that'll just be a matter of who gets through those areas first. I think this has got to be one of the last areas left.
Yeah, there can't be much more to it.
Which means we'll probably get somewhere around a 2:30. Because
especially in particular, or sorry, go ahead.
Because since they got all of the item checks that they're going to need, they're not going to have to stop and get all the treasure checks in Act 7.
Yes. Dented Razor in particular, since he's been so thorough in clearing areas out, means there can't be much left, I imagine, at this point.
Which
Oh, right. That's where King Magritte is.
are you looking it up right now?
I am. I pulled up the spoiler log. Do you want to know?
No. Spoilers.
Okay, I will keep it secret.
I'm excited. Rose gave me the opportunity to go and look at the spoiler log, and I was like, I want to find out along with the runners. So we'll all discover together if it's someplace particularly trolly. I mean, they've already done. I'll do a prediction though.
Oh yeah.
So my prediction, because this would be the trolliest thing, would be that because they've done the Act 6 boss already, right?
Yep.
But as we've said, there's one more boss that people like to skip because it takes forever, and that's the Act 5 boss, Tin Man. And I don't remember seeing any of the runners go and do Tin Man yet. So that would be one of the last things that I would go and expect is maybe this is a Tin Man check. Which, if it is, they're gonna be real grumpy if that's the situation.
I mean, I'm surprised that all of them went for the Bird Boss before they went for Tin Man, because
that is true.
I mean, of the two, Tin Man is so much easier to deal with than Bird Boss.
That is very true. Yeah, we can see Axeman is going and doing that right now.
I mean, it seems like they've got a lot better strats than I ever did to deal with it, so that's great. But
one thing that I did notice is it does look like Lost Core didn't check for Under Queen, and therefore does not have Super Bracelet.
yeah,
And that's a
real shame.
If he just missed that, that could very easily be the difference.
Yeah.
Because Super Bracelet just adds up. It just saves you seconds over
It
and over and over
absolutely
again.
is that good.
And so if that might be the distinguishment, but we can see that Lost Core is in Power Plant, which was skipped earlier.
That is the Act 5 boss area.
And so I have to assume that while he's here, because I don't think there's very much left for him to check that he hasn't already, I have to assume that he'll probably just do Tin Man while he's here.
Yeah.
Because often you'll skip Tin Man if you do Power Plant early, but if you're at this point, there's so little left. Also notice that he is skipping all of those checks. That is because those are fast. Those are item checks. He doesn't need item checks. He just needs King Magritte, so he's going straight to Tin Man.
Yes. Ooh, there was a shield bracelet hidden down there, as we can see for Axeman. But I believe Axeman got the Super Bracelet, so it's not a big deal for him.
Yeah, I think Axeman and Dented Razor both have the Super Bracelet. It was Tin
Yes,
Man.
it was. I was so shocked when they went for the Act 6 boss. It's like, I mean, you have the right idea, but you picked the wrong one.
I think Lost Core had literally done absolutely everything else. I think this was the very last thing that he checked.
I wouldn't be surprised.
He's now going to go and clear this check now, just to forward back. But I think Lost Core is going to be going to Act 7 and is going to be rushing to complete the game now. We can see that Axeman is in Power Plant now, so he's going to be a little bit behind that. I'm not sure where Dented Razor is going. Dented Razor might be going to left tower, which I guess he hasn't done. Okay. Yeah. So in that case, like, most likely what's going to happen here, if Dented Razor is spending time in left tower before Power Plant, left tower takes a while. So Lost Core is going to be rushing to complete the game now. It looks like Axeman is going to fight Tin Man right now. So then it'll just be a matter of...
The 6 stones are being used there on Lost Core's side, which is what allows you to access Area 7 even though you can teleport there.
Yeah. So then it'll just be a matter of now Axeman does have Super Bracelet and Lost Core doesn't. So that'll be really what the Axeman is going to rely on to and just execution at this point to see if he can catch up.
Yeah, I think he has the power bracelet, which will help. That's half of what you need for the super bracelet.
So, but yeah, Lost Core, we get to see that space background that Rose talked about before.
Oh yeah, those just the fire, like the mode 7, I imagine at full work here.
And we can see those two enemies.
Yep. The invincible flies.
And we can see here that as soon as hitting level 24, immediately swaps into the Soul Blade, is high enough level, can now wield it. Interestingly enough, it looks like Lost Core never got the Recovery Sword, which, considering that I think he got every item check, means the Recovery Sword is probably in Act 7.
No, actually.
Oh, what did he miss then? That means he missed an item check somewhere.
It was the Woodston Trio.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yes,
well,
there's
I guess
a deer, a dog, and a squirrel that put on a little transforming show for you. They transform into squirrels, and you have to find the one who was a squirrel in the first place.
Yeah, those three, you can, there was those three little walls that were rotating. That's the level up spot you usually use if you need it. Lost Core does not need it. He's already level 24.
And you can see the space ghosts.
Yeah, those space ghosts are what the soul armor is going to protect you from. Lost Core, much to my not surprise, does not bother clearing for a save point. Just immediately goes into the final boss. This is the first form. Pretty easy, and then as soon as you beat him, you go and equip Phoenix. You don't use Phoenix earlier because it lags the game.
That's something I should stop doing.
And so you don't use it for the first form of the boss. But yeah, pretty straightforward approach where you leave the sword in front of you, use that to fight the flames, and then you just go and kind of get to a diagonal kind of area so the flames don't hit you. You can see that the head is only able to be hit while having his head open.
Yeah, and you have to be kind of careful to time it, because those little homing lasers, if they're out at the same time that you're firing Phoenix and the boss is firing the 3 flames, it lags so hard.
Yeah, so definitely like a optimization that's often used.
Oh wow, gonna have to definitely...
Yeah, having to use...
the lack of the super bracelet, you can be hurt.
Yeah, means that Lost Core has to use the medical herb, but luckily the medical herb does heal your entire HP stack, which especially...
yeah.
There. And we can notice that he paused for a second before killing the last one, and that was to avoid that lag that Rose was talking about. It's got to be soon.
I think it's maybe 10
yep,
seconds.
There it is.
There we go. Boom, that's time.
Okay, 2047 to 2047 for Lost Core. So Lost Core is the winner. Ironically, Axeman goes and talks to the Woodston Trio, gets that recovery sword we just talked about. I guess he must be missing an item check.
I imagine so.
He's got to be missing he definitely has the red hot items. So I wonder if it's the no, I'm not sure what it could be. What is he missing?
Not sure.
Well, that does give Dented Razor some time to catch up, as Dented Razor is now in power plant after having spent all that time in left tower. Is now in power plant. We'll go through these last checks. So we'll see for second place.
Axeman might be missing the Silver Stone, which is in the basement second screen Crystal Fairy. might have been an area he skipped. I'll have to see.
Oh, Axeman hadn't done Model Town 1. Is there an item check in Model Town 1?
Not one of the required items.
Yeah, he's missing the black stone. Where's the black stone?
Oh, Blackstone is Lanol second screen. Okay. Northeast,
he-
the rotator chest. So he hasn't.
He hasn't gone to Lanol then. Okay.
He's been to Lanol, I believe, but maybe only part of it.
Okay.
Northeast, so that's the mushroom shoe center.
Gotcha.
Because all of them did go through Lou with the
Yes.
lucky blade. But
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that's giving Dented Razor an opportunity to catch back up. Did get Tin Man. So yeah, so now Dented Razor's going through that same warp.
Yeah, you have the magic bell, but you really don't want to be losing your gems right before the final boss.
No.
You want to be using the power bracelet or super bracelet to get that extra damage in.
Yep. Absolutely true. Oh, does Dented Razor is also missing an item?
Oh.
Because he's also going into left model town.
Oh, and also struggling with the invisible enemies, unfortunately.
Yeah, and this is the textbook example of why I will I'll talk to that door.
Yeah.
Not because I have to, but because, man, it's a quality of life issue. Being able to see these invisible enemies is just really nice. You don't have to guess. You don't have to figure it out. They move around. It can be. I had a seed where the invisible catapults were in a particular check was used, had catapults instead of one of the other enemies, and it was rough.
Oh yeah.
I was like, where are all of them? Oh god, they all just hit me.
Yeah. You know that they're a certain distance away when they hit you, but they can hit you from multiple directions. So.
Yeah. And nothing more embarrassing than an unintentional death in Act 5 when you're like 20th level or something.
Yeah.
So we can see Dented Razor and Axeman both in left model town. Meanwhile, Lost Core still going through the final animation. Dented Razor, why didn't you visit me? So the final sequence after the game is over, you go and talk to the different kind of main NPCs, kind of leaders of the different areas in reverse order. So you start by talking to King Magrid, then you talk to Marie, then you talk to I don't remember. Rose, do you know, do you talk to the king or do you talk to Gnome in Act 4?
I saw them talking to the king. So.
Okay, yeah.
Gnome is... I don't know. Yeah, that one's a little confusing, because you need the king to access Gnome, and the king also gives you... Like, the king and the dancing grandmas are also needed, so Gnome's kind of an afterthought there, I guess.
Yeah. And then you go to Act 2 here, and you talk to Turbo, who's Turbo's ghost, because Turbo is dead. One of the very fun things that can happen in the randomizer is that sometimes you will beat the game having never unlocked Turbo's grave. And if that happens, you will actually break the game. And you can walk around in the cutscene. and it will actually be broken. It won't continue to go through the cutscene. Now, luckily, that doesn't matter in this case because the game's already finished. we consider the game completed once the final boss is killed and starts exploding.
Yeah.
But you can break the game during the ending credits, and it happens not infrequently. It's pretty easy to beat the game having never unlocked Turbo's Grave.
And now you see Lost Core talking to this lady that he doesn't really know, didn't really interact with.
Yeah.
Some lady, she was there. She did a thing, I guess.
Yep. Well, while we wait for these last ones, does the host have any last things to say?
Nothing of nature really. We have nothing new donation-wise, but we are approaching again 2,500, the next threshold for our milestones. And as we approach the end of this long day of streaming, we have one more tomorrow. Again, opening up with Zelda, going into Metroid, then going into Dr. Mario and Final Fantasy. So tomorrow's kind of an old classics. One last victory lap around the trail there. So again, hope you all enjoyed watching this here randomizer. We go to the end. I think the races are going to get their chance to finish up. We're still well below estimate. But, again, I thank all those who rated us during this race and those who have been watching the entire time.
Yeah, thank you to everybody going and watching this. It's I was going to at the beginning. I was gonna see if I could get Rose to go and bet who was gonna win, but I have to say Lost Core is very, very consistent, and
Yes.
so very methodical, often having some of the fastest times on
Yeah.
just week over week. So I'm not
Yeah.
surprised at all.
Yeah,
to see
often
that
in the top 3 in the weekly seats.
Yeah, and just doesn't die. Even with those
Yeah.
really hard seeds, I'll be like, oh man, and then I'll just watch Act 2 and be like, how much faster did Lost Core do Act 2 than it took me? Oh, a lot. Okay. But okay, we can see here. I don't know if the Axeman got that last.
I don't think so. No.
The Axeman has missed something because he's rechecking his steps. He doesn't
again,
know.
it's Lainal from the Mushroom Shrooms side, so.
And it looks like Dented Razor doesn't have one of the checks for the king. So
really interesting.
Both of them struggling a little bit.
Meanwhile,
meanwhile, Lost Cores, we've got that final screen. Lisa feels she will be happy if she believes.
Yep.
And then we get that music from that musician that we definitely skipped and didn't listen to, playing in the background during this final section of the ending credits.
Yep. Which does, I believe, also show up in Terranigma, another game in the Quintet trilogy as well.
Yeah, it looks like Axeman is just double checking.
Yeah.
And seeing. So, like we had said, there's one of the two ways that you can lose a lot of time is unintentional deaths and missing a check, and it looks like both Dented Razor and Axeman have missed a check. This might be the one that Dented Razor missed, because that is definitely an NPC check. Or if Dented Razor just never did this section. I guess we'll see.
Oh yeah,
yes.
Looks like he did.
Yep, he missed this grandpa.
There we go. That unlocks access to the king. He has all the stones, I believe.
I'm not sure. We'll
see pretty soon.
Yeah, we'll see. Because if he immediately goes to Act 7, then he's got everything. Or no, he's got to go to Act 4 too and do the dancing grandmas.
Yes. Have to do that, the grandmas.
That is mandatory. So we'll see if he does that, and then if he keeps looking around, or if he goes straight to Act 7. Yeah, that first level of the laboratory has a lot of checks that are not necessary, and so it can make it really easy to miss one of the ones that is necessary. I did that a few weeks ago. Not that specific one, but another one pretty close to it. I missed that one on the very far left side. I was like,
Yep, we see here that the Soul Blazer is very much being told that they're in love with Lisa. So
yeah.
you can't stay in heaven, buddy. You gotta go back and deal with that.
Yep. Yeah, so you can see here, yeah, X-Man's just doing all the
Finally found the ice armor.
item checks. Yeah, but
That would have been nice earlier, that's for sure.
yeah, he's just going through and he's checking all the NPC checks, just in order. Unfortunately, not going to be. Meanwhile, Lisa, dented razor. Is that you?
No,
Oh
he's still
my! I knew you would come back with the very slow text scroll. What is wrong? Don't you remember me? And then you get a yes or a no here, which
Oh, that's actually really funny.
which doesn't really matter. Yep. So dented razor. That was the missed check. Was that one in the laboratory? So now that he has found it, he is now in Act 7. It's just and it always seems like whichever check you miss is the one that is needed, right?
Yep. And it was, again, a little different between Dented Razor and Lost Core, because Lost Core was missing an item at the end, looking for that last stone. So very different types of checks that they'll be performing at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Axeman is checking for a stone that was missed versus Dented Razor was checking for for that grandpa to get into the king, and that meant that Axeman had to check all of the NPCs item checks, and Dented Razor didn't, right? And just got to go and check the areas. Yeah, so he's going through that. I wonder if it's in Lanewell. I wonder if it's one of those chests that you have to go across one of those bridges for.
It says it's in the northeast, the rotator chest. So yeah, it sounds like it. Or I actually can't quite remember what side that is then.
So northeast. So if it's northeast Lanewell, that might actually be the spot from when you go to Loon. It might be that.
Yeah, that might be on the right side. Might have just passed it.
Yeah, it might have been that.
Dented Razor.
Because there's two checks there. Yeah, Dented Razor now going and fighting the.
Yes, and also decided to open access to the Sanctuary to get that free heal.
Yep.
Which is very handy.
Yeah, so Dented Razor going in, and we should see that I'm pretty sure he's got the super bracelet. So we should see that he probably won't even need the medical herb compared to Lost Core needing the medical herb and then going to almost half hit points again.
Yeah.
Really does make a difference in this particular fight.
It really does. Like, you're forced to wear the best equipment
Oh,
anyway.
it was the purple stone from Light Shrine,
from the Light Shrine.
not the
Oh,
black.
wow. Now that's unfortunate. He had access to that really early on.
Yeah, I wonder if he did the rest of the Light Shrine, but never backtracked and got that chest.
Mm-hmm. I believe he would have had the Spirit Sword coming in. Ooh.
Yeah, he would.
Dented Razor getting... Oh, yep, use the medical bracelet. So.
Oh,
Or
yeah, and
medical
ended up having to use the medical herb.
Yeah, I don't think he had the super bracelet. I think
Maybe
he
he
just had
doesn't
the
have
power
the super
bracelet as
bracelet?
well.
Okay. I thought someone got it. Maybe the Axeman was the only one that actually
I think it
got
was
the super
Axeman,
bracelet.
yeah.
Which is really wild, especially if if they were doing item checks.
Hi, YouTube.
Okay,
Yep, and Axeman
well,
is now heading into the world of evil as well. That's
okay. So not too bad. So we'll still be way underestimate, even with which also that also shows our runners and their experience that even with missing a check, just knowing the check so well that they can go through and just be like, okay, let's go through and let's check all of them. Yep. So Dented Razor's coming into second place. And then the Axeman in the final area.
Yep. Level 24, so that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, he's in the final area. Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty good spread.
Hello, Dented Razor.
Congrats, Lost Core.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh man,
That was fun.
Enjoyed my seed?
Oh man.
I'm really surprised that you all killed the Act 6 boss before Act 5.
Yeah, well, I got through all the items right as Dr. Leo gave me the sword, so I just had NPCs to check, and I'm like, alright, why not? Give the people a show.
Yeah, we get to I got to have flashbacks to when I was I think it was 8 or 9, trying to fight that Act 6 boss without super bracelet and just dying over and over again.
You're level 8 or 9? Ouch.
No, I was 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah, years old.
I was,
Slight difference.
yeah, slight difference.
Like, how did you get to level there and level?
Yeah, how would you
9 in
get
the
there?
base game?
How is that even possible?
Yeah. Now, Axeman, we're going to see this fight be quite a bit different because he does actually have the super bracelet, so you are going to see the damage be so much lower. It was under Queen Margaret, by the way.
It was vanilla.
It was vanilla.
Very good seed, by the way. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Um,
I looked at it and I saw that the Soul Blade was under Dr. Leo, and I'm like, oh yeah, this has potential.
and Tin Man being necessary is just the absolute worst.
Stones in the coral reef.
Yeah, Coral Reef being necessary, Tin Man being necessary,
Ghost Ship.
Ghost Ship being necessary. Yeah, I love when Ghost Ship is necessary because I love that father and son. They're like, well, we're gonna die here, but maybe someone will find this blue stone.
Maybe somebody will find this rock that I like.
You like the Ghost Ship Lost Core, right?
What?
You like the lost? You like that ghost ship?
Oh yeah, I loved it.
I heard
Yeah,
you say
it-
one time you just usually don't check that. So.
Well,
Okay.
there wasn't much else to check, I think.
And that's time for X-Men as
And
well.
that's yeah. So ended up just being about 4-minute difference between the second and third place.
Yeah.
Everybody's still well under 3 hours.
Yep.
Great job. Great job, everybody. Dealing with a very trolly run or a very
Oh,
trolly
yeah.
seed.
It was funny, our practice race earlier, last score beat us by 18 minutes as well. So it was just at least good practice.
Yeah. We thought Axeman was going to finish much sooner, but he missed the stone in the light shrine.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That was right. Having to go and check all the. So it really came down to the difference between when you miss a check, the difference between missing an item check versus missing an NPC check, right? Because he was having to go and recheck all of the item NPCs.
Wow. I missed the NPC check and he missed the item check.
Yep.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yep. That's exactly what
Yeah.
happened.
okay. Yeah, I cleared everything. I still don't know if I would have gotten first because I found the king pretty late. But
Everybody
Probably
found the
closer.
king late.
Yeah. King was late. If I just look up at the thing here, King. Or no,
No,
Act 4.
the-
Oh no, King was in the Fire
King-
Shrine.
the king, the
No,
king was
no,
on.
no.
Sorry, King
King,
the Great.
He was on
I-
Tyndall.
the other king.
Yeah,
Yes,
King Magritte,
Tyndall.
the other king. Yeah, Tyndall being necessary.
Mhm.
Yeah, nobody was checking Tyndall early, so
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, it really just came down to everybody kind of checked and got Tyndall, and then it was just a matter of missing a check,
Oh,
and then
man.
the slight speed difference in.
I spaced
Going
that
through them all.
same chest in an earlier race. I was feeling so good too. It was just that, yeah. Gotta remember that chest.
Yep.
You know, it's Trolley seed when you get 99% of everything you need, but it's just that one thing that you just can't find.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah. I'm glad I could challenge you and get us closer to the estimate time.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was accomplished. Yeah.
That's definitely
Did it.
true. Okay, well, I think we're
Just about done. I have one more donation that came through just now.
perfect.
All right, thank
All right,
Mashma
thank
for
you.
$25 more. Thank you, Mashma.
Oh man.
With the comment of Axeman. It's okay. You're still a top runner to me. You should race with Crystallis this again.
Yeah, you were supposed to come first of this one.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to go back to Crystallis then, after Herb percent.
Yeah. Yes, that is something to point out, is that there is a Soul Blazer tournament coming up within the Discord very shortly as well, so
Weeks.
more big stuff going on in early April.
It's called Herb Percent because of how much we all love medical herbs.
Can't live without.
Yep. Love those herbs.
And with that, I am actually going to jump in. Hi, y'all. I am Alicel. I am one of the admins for Randothon. I want to thank our runners right now. Thank you so much for the awesome run. It was great. It was so fun to watch. I am a huge fan of Soul Blazer and the Soul Blazer Rando, so I thoroughly enjoyed this. And I also want to thank all of our runners today, all of our tech crew, all of our staff, and all of our donators. We are so absolutely blown away by the generosity all of you have given. We are going to be finished for tonight, but we will be back first thing tomorrow morning with some Zelda. We are starting at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. But for tonight, we are actually going to send you over to another awesome charity that is supporting Equality Texas. And one of our other staff members is actually running right now. That is Leggy Starscream. So we just want y'all to go ahead, give them some love, and just thank y'all so much again. And we will see you tomorrow, first thing in the morning.